I'm Lizzie.
And I'm Izzy, and we need help.
Each week we stumble through a new book, method, or concept that brings us one step closer to being our best self.
Yes, we make fun of ourselves.
And others.
But mostly just ourselves. So here's to not taking self-help quite so seriously.
Welcome to We Need Help. I'm Lizzie.
And I'm Izzy, and today we need help with emotional sobriety.
Ooh, baby.
We do. So yeah, we're doing the book 12 Smart Things to Do When the Booze and Drugs Are Gone. So it's like a path to emotional sobriety, and it's not just for people who were addicts. So this book is good for everybody, and it's by Allen Berger, who's a Ph.D. So that means
Ooh,
very
a pud. Pud.
a pud.
That was my first question. How did you know? Like, do you have to be in recovery to make this work?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, great. Great.
Yeah. So not at all. It's just about being emotionally sober, and it doesn't mean that because I think everybody needs a little emotional sobriety, right? So he kind of talks about Allen Berger. So who is he? He's from Chicago, first of all the best people are.
Why
All the
are they
best
so
people are.
good?
Yeah.
Why are they
So
so good?
yeah, he grew up in the 1950s in the Northwest Side, so Jefferson Park. That's where he's
Hmm.
from.
Yeah.
He grew up there. He's the oldest of four, also the oldest child. Is pretty
So
good.
good.
So good.
So good. Well, I'm the
And
oldest girl, so I think that's pretty much
yeah, yes, yeah. So was he was super interesting because he went to Vietnam, and then he was sort of a part of a pioneering program for recovery of Marines returning from Vietnam with alcohol and drug addictions, because a lot of them had addiction.
absolutely.
So
They still
it's
do.
funny, first as a participant and then as a counselor, because he himself got into drug addiction. I think he's been sober since 1971. So he's got a
Okay.
long length of sobriety. Um, He's a PhD in, addiction and recovery. He's a psychologist. He's written loads and loads of books. He's a
Okay.
psychotherapist, and yeah, just smart, smart guy. Um, and yeah, just he had alcoholism, drug addiction. He went to Vietnam.
Probably
Um,
PTSD.
yeah, PTSD, all that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, loads of experience. And he wrote this book. And yeah,
Why are we doing it?
what's that?
Why
Why?
are we doing it?
It's interesting because he said most of us think of sobriety as being free from alcohol or other drugs, right? Emotional sobriety is not about being free from emotions, because that's impossible. You're always going to have them. It's about freeing ourselves from our emotional bondage to our emotional states. Like, we have a bondage to our emotional state, right?
Okay.
So he says emotional sobriety is a state where we experience our emotions and we respect them, but we don't like let ourselves get enmeshed so in our emotions that we let our emotions kind of direct how we.
Well, and sobriety to me means fully aware. So when I listened to, like, when I heard this title, when you told me you're reading this book, it was emotionally fully aware, is what I heard. Would
Yeah.
you would you agree with that? Like we need to open our minds to being emotionally fully aware throughout
Yeah,
our days.
absolutely. And a lot of this book is about that awareness and being like not lying to yourself, like being honest with yourself, being aware of what you're feeling,
Mhm.
being, aware of how other people are influencing how you're feeling, right? And then
Mm,
taking full responsibility for our emotions, and then choosing to act or not act on the information that our emotions feed us. So
okay.
it's really interesting. Like, he kind of did it in the 12-step format. So he's got, his book is 12 smart things to do. So to keep emotionally sober. And
Okay.
I had an idea that I could read you what those 12 things are.
Okay.
Then you could pick one that we could talk about, one or two,
Okay.
and I can kind of
Okay.
share, because it's so much to go over in in our short little episode. But I'm happy to share. Maybe you can think, oh, that's interesting. I struggle with that, or I'd like to
Okay.
know
Let's
about
talk
that.
about it. Let's
Okay,
do it.
so these are the 12 things. Okay, one is know yourself and how to stay centered. That's
Okay.
one. 2 is stop allowing others to edit your reality.
Oh my God.
3, 3, stop taking things personally.
Mm,
4, own your projections as an act of integrity. So how we project on others, like, and owning that.
okay.
5 is confronting yourself for the sake of your integrity.
Right.
6, stop pressuring others to change and instead pressure yourself to change. It's interesting.
Okay.
7 is develop a healthy perspective towards yourself, your feelings, and your emotional themes. So recognizing
Okay.
what your emotional themes are. 8, appreciate what is. 9, comfort yourself when you are hurt or disappointed. 10, use your personal compass to guide your life. 11, embrace relationship tensions as the fuel for personal growth. And 12, recognize that the problem is not the real problem.
Like you're the problem, right?
Yeah.
Ah. Okay. So like if we went through those, read number one.
Know yourself and how to stay centered.
Okay. So like taking an inventory of your actual, like who you are.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it's so amazing. You're so intuitive because that's what he provides. He provides an inventory form, and with columns and how to fill it out. Like it's
Okay.
really
So that's wonderful. Everybody should do that. What's number two?
number 2 is stop allowing others to edit your reality.
Okay. So the narratives of others are not your story.
Right. Yeah. Like, and also we have this desire for connection, but then we also have the desire to be individuals and how to balance the two, right? How to
Yeah.
not resign from yourself, because that's what we do as codependents. We resign
Hmm.
from ourselves in order to maintain a connection, right? So, how not to do that, how to keep that balance between your individuality and connecting with others.
Okay. And not being the victim of who is around you and who you put your in your space,
Yeah.
probably. Okay, what was number three?
Number 3 is stop taking things personally, right?
Oh God.
So,
So I just had dinner with somebody. I swear to God, maybe can she you couldn't say I had a wonderful weekend without her somehow bringing the conversation back to herself.
yeah,
Like the whole world is
revolves around her.
fucking with her.
Yeah.
I could say, "Oh my God, I lost 6 pounds." I found it. I'm like,
Yeah.
how does the whole world revolve around you?
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's
that's
like
that's somebody who takes everything personally. It's so funny. We have
everything personally. I'm like, the sky is blue. She somehow looks bad in blue.
yeah, yeah, it's all about
Uh,
her. Yeah. We have this saying in recovery that I discovered the center of the universe and I was shocked to find out that I wasn't in it. Like, shocked. Like
like you could say, like, does somebody's asking, the world doesn't revolve around you, and I'm always like, mine does.
yeah.
I'm looking all around, and
Yeah.
I only can be in the center of what I'm seeing,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
hard not to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's this guy in recovery. His name is Clancy. He was a famous speaker, and he was always talking about like Jesus Christ on the cross, saying, "Why is this happening to me?" And like that's us. Like why is this
Yeah.
happening to me? Why is she doing this to me? And it's
Yeah.
like,
I think the moment in that is somewhat the way to free yourself from that center of the universe feeling and everything's that personal to you is literally exercising empathy at all times. Like
yeah,
an understanding that we're all doing this game toward called life and we're all fucking it up and
yeah,
we're all like having our stepping our toes in the morning. It's not just happening to us.
yeah. I mean, the in Al-Anon, if you've ever been to an Al-Anon meeting, they say it's not what the addict or alcoholic is doing to us, it's just what they're doing. And
Okay,
that's like
if I've ever been to an Al-Anon meeting,
if.
if maybe.
But that's like life. It's not what they're doing to you, it's just what they're doing, and that's a wonderful perspective, right?
I think that is just such a freeing thing. Like it's happening.
Yeah.
It's just happening
Yeah. They're not doing it
to
to
a,
you. They're just
it's
doing it.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. What's the next one?
4 is own your projections as an act of integrity, right? So there's just different ways that we project our feelings onto others. So, for example, if you think everyone's angry or if you think someone's mad at you, you might be mad at them. Like it's just about like assigning things to other people that you yourself are experiencing or getting angry at other people for certain things that you are doing or you have, right?
Yeah.
So he has
Like
a
when
whole,
I get pissed at Glennon Doyle because her podcast is like taken off. No, it has nothing to do with her. It's because our podcast isn't where we
yeah,
want it to be. It has
yeah,
nothing to do with like it's nothing to do with her.
yeah,
We like any other like if I were standing right beside her, I want her to do well. But
yeah,
if I get those feelings of nastiness, I know it's about me.
yeah, yeah. So here's the exercise he has with this, which I love this exercise, and I tried it, and it's really interesting. So you take out a piece of paper, you make 3 columns, and
Okay.
in the first column, you list the top 5 people you can't stand, like people you really don't like.
That's fun.
So in the next column, you get to write out what you can't stand about them. So you do like a total rigorous inventory of their character defects, like leaving no stone unturned, like write down all of their despicable traits.
Yeah.
And then in the third column, you just ask yourself, is there any way that I behave in this similar way? Like, do I ever
Yes.
feel this way? Like, and it's so interesting. And then you can ask yourself if you behave this way too. And if you're not certain, you can try it on for size. For example, you think somebody's too, like, I hate Anna because she's two-faced, and then say, I am two-faced. And think, does any part of that resonate with you? Like, maybe not, but maybe yes. Maybe there's also
Uh,
small bits, right? So it's
and
really,
here's a little clue. We're all two-faced.
yeah,
We all talk shit.
yeah.
Stop acting like you don't.
Yeah. And it's so interesting just to say that out loud. Like, say, I am for all the despicable traits you hate about this person.
Yeah.
And if there's any truth to the statement, you're going to feel it a little bit. Right.
Uh-huh.
So that I thought, wow, what a great exercise to do. Right.
Yeah,
And it's
I
then you,
love it.
yeah. So you can really see that your hate for somebody is really about you. It's not even
You
about them. And it also
you
I
hate
think
you.
we have this saying in recovery, which is ego creates separation. I think I'm better than you,
It's
or I think I'm
superior
worse.
or inferior. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And if
both. Like
I'm
it's
saying she's such a phony, it's, but then if I say I'm such a phony and I feel like a small part of that can be true, then there's not separation because I'm just like you,
yeah, you
so
can
it's,
relate. You're
yeah.
like, oh, she's so phony and I hate her, but I was super nice to her last week when I saw
Yeah.
her at school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Super.
Love that.
So that's all about projecting, and kind of recognizing that you are projecting, right?
Candace, my energy worker, like my sister and I were having a fucking argument so badly. Like I mean, we just, our levees break occasionally. And then we basically I didn't realize it until Candace pointed out. We basically show each other exactly what we hate about ourselves
Yeah.
and then are able to forgive it in each other and forgive ourselves.
That's
That's what
so
we're here
that's
for.
what
My
I
sister
think
and I do this.
that's what this is all about. And just recognizing that.
Yes. And that's
Yeah.
like, I think that's my sister and my contract to be here together is to our levees. We let them rise, rise, rise. They break. We show each other exactly what we need to work on, forgive it in each other, and then forgive ourselves.
That's
Like
cool.
it's really, really
It's almost
cool.
like you have a sparring partner.
Exactly. That's exactly what we have. Exactly what we are.
It's cool. I love it.
Yeah. And then you
Love
know what she said the other day, like, and we get through it, and then like we love each other. So
it.
and we were doing this game, that says, "How well do you know your family?" And Scarlett asked her, "Who?" Or the question was, "Who is your hero?" and we had to go around the family and say who each other's hero was.
Mm.
And my sister was like, uh, I said Chuck Norris, I said this, I said that. And she's like, no, closer. And you have to give clues. And she said, I'm her hero.
Oh my gosh. That's so
I
nice.
know.
Did you get
And then
teary?
yeah, of course I did.
Yeah, it reminds me, we were in the countryside over New Year's, and Maria was there, my friend Maria, who you know, she's been on our podcast, and my mom, and we were talking about inspiration, and Maria asked my mom, like, what inspires you? And my mom looked at me and she goes, my daughter, and I was like, like it was
Oh my
like,
God.
yeah,
That's
it's
so good.
so
You
nice.
needed to hear that. That's so wonderful.
Yeah, and Maria, of course,
Okay.
started crying because her like she doesn't have the easiest relationship with her mom. So like, but it was really nice to hear. Like I inspire
Yeah.
my mom. I never thought that, I never thought I did, but it's nice to
It's amazing. You
get it.
inspire me too.
You inspire me.
Aw,
Aw.
heart. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, yeah, this is fun. This is better than you picking something. We can go over all of them. Okay, so smart smart thing number 5 is confront yourself for the sake of your integrity, meaning like confront yourself sort of with love, like don't like excuse away your mistakes, just like embrace your mistakes, embrace your imperfect, I think. And
Okay,
which
so
is what we do in our podcast.
this reminds me of something I do. Like if I am like flighty,
Hmm.
let's just say with a relationship, and like
Yeah,
if I cancel like this, that, and the other thing,
yeah,
I'll sometimes look in the mirror and be like, okay, what is your problem with this? Like, what are you doing?
yeah.
And I'll look at like and I'll say, okay, the truth is I don't want to hang out with this person.
Mm,
It's not like it's not working for me.
yeah,
And like really becoming truthful
yeah,
about what it is.
yeah, yeah.
And
And he said in we like recovery, I mean, he talks about it in recovery terms, but I think re recovery from being emotionally immature, let's say, it requires rigorous honesty. So we need to quit running from the truth.
yeah, or
And
blaming others.
yeah, and sometimes confronting those truths is uncomfortable because we avoid pain, fears, anxiety, whatever. And he said just not to do that. And then
I
he said, but in a loving way, like how do you support, like supporting yourself in a loving way? Like it's okay, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Often ask people, they're like, they're like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm like, why why do you let yourself be so busy?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
why do you sign up for that? And it's always like, why do I? Like
yeah,
asking yourself, why am I putting too much on my own plate? Oh yeah,
yeah.
I don't feel very good about myself right now, or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah. And then like accepting yourself because I don't know about you, but I beat myself up when I make mistakes. Like I obsess about them. I'm like, how could I have done that? One example is, and this is I was flying to India for to do a training and I forgot to get my visa and they had arranged all this, like the client had arranged all this stuff and I just forgot, like you need to get a visa in advance. And it was a big issue, and they called me later and they're like, Isabella, just not cool. Like that, and I was like, I can't believe I did that. I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid. This is the voice in my head.
Yeah,
So
she's a bitch. She's a real cunt.
to cut,
Mine too.
to cut that out, like even he has a great line, even though it's knowing, even though you have made a mistake, you are not a mistake, which I
Mhm.
love. Like, because I'm like, I'm just a fuck up, and the self-talk.
Labeling yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's like I've noticed that majorly in addicts. Like they just can't handle failure.
Yeah.
Like I'm convinced. Like
I mean, yeah.
like you know, I like my mom made it very easy for me to like screw up, but my dad didn't. So I'm like 50-50.
Yeah.
But like, you know, learning, I think that I'm going to write a parenting book, and one of the first lines is our job in life is to teach our children to be the most awesome failures so
Mm,
that they can concede or so they can succeed.
yeah.
Like being able to fail is the only way to keep going and succeed.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. And I have a hard time with that. Like I still, this happened in, when did I go to India? I think it was October.
It was
And I
months and months
still,
ago, I know.
yeah. And I still get like, when I think about making that mistake, which they have forgiven me, everyone's moved on, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe I did that." It's like,
Yeah.
that's that, brain that you could just got to stop it and accept that you're going to make mistakes. It's okay, right?
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean,
smart thing number six. This is a difficult one. Stop pressuring others to change and instead pressure yourself to change.
I just read that Let Them, Let Me book.
Yeah.
That is 100%. And I think it's really important that we quit celebrating this codependent as like oh, I'm a codependent. I'm not happy if you're
Yeah.
not happy. No, you're a covert controller.
Yeah.
That's what you are. Like, and I can say this as somebody who has covertly controlled everybody out of love for so long, but that Let Them theory book by Mel Robbins is such a great tool for that. I mean, codependency is so out.
So 2024.
It's so gross.
Yeah, so it's basically he talks a lot about we have to keep our emotional balance regardless of what's going on around us, right? And confronting ourselves with our issues rather than playing the blame game. So he listed like loads of statements about playing the blame game. Like, if only my parents had been more loving or less abusive, I would have a better life today. If my mother or father
But
weren't,
you wouldn't be as funny.
yeah, if my father or mother weren't an alcoholic, I wouldn't be an addict. If my bo if only, if only, if only. He said we become obsessed with if only. And he said it could just go on and on. And he also says something interesting. He goes, he wants to clarify that first of all, there is some truth to it, right?
Yeah.
Like if, my partner was nicer, I would be happier. But he
Yeah.
said, while this is true, it is also irrelevant. Like it's
Doesn't
irrelevant. It
matter.
ain't
Yeah.
reality, right? So
Yeah.
we're experiencing whatever we're experiencing for whatever reasons. This is our life. This is our cross to bear, right? Some
Don't
say
you think
karma.
somewhere in validation that we lose the silver linings? Like I like to
Yeah.
like we're all this is a game. Like if you look at life as like this game that we signed up for and this is the level we're at and we're here to
Yeah.
learn. And like, okay, my mom's an alcoholic. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm extraordinarily observant because of it. I'm
Yeah.
very capable because of it. I'm very understanding of any any kind of mental illness because of it. I have superpowers because of it. I grew up poor. I am extremely hard worker. I can see things because of the way I grew up. Like, why aren't we looking so hard at the positives? I mean, we're so like balls deep in what trauma we've been through, but we can't develop skills unless we have valleys. We have no mountains.
And that's a big part of learning emotional sobriety is that we realize that there's good and bad in all of us. There's good and bad in the way we were brought up, but we only focus on the bad.
Some
So
people do
it's
not, yeah, some people are just obsessed with it
yeah,
because it hurt them. But I mean, we become stronger with every bit of pain
yeah.
as we get through it.
Amen. And and that's part of emotional maturity is that we're a little more like stoic, we're a little more balanced about it. And we can start focusing on the good stuff, right? We need to shift our
Right.
focus. That's what he said. You know,
Okay.
where we focus is where the energy goes. So if you're focused on the if onlys, that's where the energy is going to follow, right?
Right. Right.
So it's really interesting. Yeah.
But
So
I think
stop.
we don't have to ignore the crisis or the trauma or the coping
Yeah,
or whatever it is. We don't have to ignore it, but to acknowledge the bad, we have to acknowledge the good.
absolutely. Yeah. He has a couple really good lines in the book. He says that let the best of yourself run the show. And I really liked that. Like,
Mm.
let the best of yourself run the show rather than the worst of yourself. And then he talks that little immature thing that's blaming everybody else, he calls it the king baby,
I
which I
like
just love.
that.
Like, it's time to start letting your king baby run the show. The wham, why,
Oh my God. Do you
So-
know how many people I know that their king baby is in full at the helm, storming outdoors as adults? Like, if you've lost your shit on anybody like that, your king baby is at the helm, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, smart thing seven to do is to develop a healthy perspective towards yourself, your feelings, and your emotional themes. So, meaning, not let like recognizing your emotional themes, like whatever they are, right? Um, so whatever that is, like our tendencies, right? So I have a tendency to withdraw, shut
Okay.
out, close off,
Yeah.
right? So whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever we see that our tendencies are to do, or the tendency to like, people please, or whatever that
Oh
is.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. Like if you know, if you've ever said, "Oh, I'm a codependent." Okay, you know that you have problems with setting boundaries. You know that you have, so you need to understand that about yourself and fix it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
I get
And
that.
then here's what I got the out of this chapter, what resonated with me the best, like the most, like I was like,
Okay.
yes, to respect feelings, but don't give them privilege, meaning
Okay.
don't like feelings are not facts, right? So
Okay.
don't let your feelings like if you're feeling something, like wait till you just simmer down a little bit, like calm down a
Yeah.
little bit, right?
Yeah.
And the question that he poses, which is really great, is in order to have a healthy relationship with your own feelings, because sometimes we get overwhelmed by the feelings, right?
Right.
So the question he asks is, what would a healthy relationship with your feelings look like? How can we
Mm.
respond to what we're feeling rather than get overwhelmed by feeling? Because I think people do that. They get overwhelmed by feeling. I get
Yeah.
that all the time. I have a lot of women that, I sponsor and they call me and they're like, I'm leaving him. And they're hysterical. And I'm like, calm down, like eat a banana, take a bath. Like,
Yeah.
let's
Put your
like,
hands in ice. Like
yeah.
chill.
Um,
Get back to do you think that maybe it's so once you start naming yourself a feeling, like I've got a bad temper. Once
yeah.
you start saying that and then you don't do anything to cope with that or to rein that in, don't you think that you're giving it like the green light? Once you name yourself a feeling and then you just give it the green light, you're like, okay, I'm not fixing it.
Well, there's two theories to that. So I think one is naming it makes it lose its power. But then
Okay.
there's the one that's, almost like
Okay.
titling it like I'm not doing anything. That's just how I am. That's just how I
Yeah.
am really pisses me off. Like,
It's a cop out.
do
Yeah.
better, right? Do
I am
better.
who I am.
I
I'm
am
like,
who I
no,
am. Yeah, you're an asshole.
yeah. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, yeah,
You're an asshole.
you actually are who you are. And
Yeah.
that is an asshole. Yeah, absolutely.
And it also says to like, the same thing he says about anxiety. What would it look like if we respected our anxiety, but did not give it privilege? And I love
Okay.
that, giving our feelings privilege. Like,
Right.
um, and he also says, like, do not treat your feelings as an infallible guide to the truth. And this
Okay.
is true because sometimes I could feel great. I wake up in the morning, or I can feel suicidal. Nothing outside of me has changed, but it's just what I'm
Yeah.
feeling. So kind of wait a bit, kind of check in with the feelings, check out to see if they're based on reality or imagined. And then stop empowering your anxiety. That's what he said, which I love that too. Like, stop empowering your anxiety, you
I
know?
think that, like if you start to feel anxious,
Mhm.
the things that I do that kind of bring me, I don't, I mean, I don't know if this is just my natural way of working it out. I'll feel anxious. Let's just
Yeah.
say I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, like I feel an anxious feeling. I make my bed, I get in the shower, I blow dry my hair. And then I see, okay, am I still feeling anxious?
Mm.
If I am, I take a walk, I this, I that. Like I just do something else. I'll say, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and then get through it. And kind of like I'm allowed to feel anxious. It's just can't rule what I'm doing.
And that's exactly, you're so spot on. He said we accept our feelings, but we don't give them privilege. So by doing that, accepting it, kind of saying,
Okay.
okay, I'm anxious, you can begin to sort it out. You can begin to discover what's real, what's imagined, what are some erroneous perceptions like driven by your like emotional dependency, for example. So
Right.
just like, calming down and kind of gaining some perspective on it.
Right.
Another
Okay.
thing that he talks about here is just understanding like what we talked about, the emotional themes. So, do you rebel? Do you dominate? Do you scapegoat others? Are you submissive? Do you submit to the wishes and demands and needs of others? Or do you
That
kind of
sounds fun.
run away in emotional withdrawal? Like, and looking at that and like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
recognizing these themes about myself. This is what I do on a repeated basis, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I submit to the wishes, demands, or needs of others very often, sometimes at my
Right.
own expense. That's one of my themes. So just recognizing when that happens, like, oh, this is a pattern, recognizing those patterns. So interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like it.
me too. Smart thing number 8 is appreciating what is. So
Gratitude.
gratitude, and that's what you were talking about when in from the last chapter or the previous chapter, like you know, the good in what is,
Well,
right? The
well,
good of
Jason,
having, yeah.
Jason just told me uh one of the things, like if he wakes up and he's anxious about like money or any aspect, like he'll wake up and he'll just be like freaking out sometimes, and
Uh,
he'll immediately go to 5 positive things in whatever subject it
yeah,
is,
yeah.
and it like calms the voice down, and then he says to the voice, shut the fuck up. And I love it because he gives it some gratitude and then gives it some attitude.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that's amazing. I really love it. Yeah, and that's you know, that's what we got to do, even if in difficult situations. Trusting the process, looking for the hope, looking for the silver linings. That's what I did with the India thing. I was like, silver lining. I will for all future trips, I will never forget a visa again. There you go. Like that was a lesson, silver lining, and I
Yeah.
found that inner resources that I didn't know I had because I logistically was able to solve the issue and somehow arrive and deliver the training on time. So I
Wow.
discovered these inner resources and I was very proud of myself. So looking for silver linings is also part of this.
Love it.
Smart thing number 9 is comforting yourself when you are hurt or disappointed. So just kind of figuring out how to self-soothe.
I think having a regimented plan for that. When I feel down, I take a bath. I I don't take a bath. I wash it down the drain first. I give it an opportunity to get off of me.
Yeah.
Like that, having a plan in that moment is really important.
Yeah, exactly. That's wonderful. And just figuring it out. And he says like one of the things that we need to do the most is changing our language of self-talk.
Mm.
I can't
Why?
tell
I
you
love when my cunt
how many
talks to me.
women that call me. And this is super interesting because this is Poland. They'll call me, they're like, Isa, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy happening. And it's not a tragedy, it's a minor inconvenience. But the language, just
Yeah,
like,
we have
or
it
they'll
here
talk
too.
about themselves like, I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid.
Yeah.
I'm devastated. How about you calm the fuck down? Like, are you
Yeah. Listen,
devastated or minorly inconvenienced?
Yeah. I think that the reality is that, I mean, we're lucky to be in this world that like most things are not tragedies,
Hmm.
you know? And I think that understanding that if it is not death, and sometimes not even a death is a tragedy. Like death happens to all of us, but if it's not like a act of God of some
Yeah.
sort, fires or hurricanes or, something that is just crazy, we really need to calm down about it. If we have our health, if we have our families near us, if we're, like, if that's like, we need to do a quick reality check sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then figuring out what you need to be soothed is really important. So is it taking deep breath? It's like physiologically, what do you need to soothe yourself?
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
also like super, super important and like owning that, you
Yeah.
know, like I need to remove myself, I need to take a trip, whatever that is for you, you know.
I need to put my feet on the earth and ground myself sometimes, that
Yeah,
kind of thing. Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Whatever that
I
is
need
for
to
you.
drink more water. That's usually like
Oh
everybody
yeah.
should put that on their list.
Yeah, exactly. Smart thing number 10 is using your personal compass to guide your life. So this, we have an idealized image of who we should be, what we should do, the shoulds, and we
Yeah.
lose our connection to our true self. This happens,
Mhm.
unfortunately, in childhood, where sometimes our true self is squashed, not cultivated. School does this, right?
Very institutionalized. Absolutely. Yes.
Parents do this. They don't mean to,
Very
but they,
much. They see you in
so
their image so often.
yeah, our true self is lost. We have something that's called a false self, right? So getting back to that true self, which is really difficult, but you know, what do I like to do really? Sitting with yourself, fi trying to figure that out, you know, because I think we get so far in life pretending, doing all the shoulds that we forget what we really enjoy,
Like what
right?
lights us up. Yeah.
Lights us
Yeah.
up. So figuring out, are you passionate about your life? Do you look forward to your future with a sense of wonderment?
Yeah.
Are you living your life or do you feel like you're living
Right.
the life that other people want you to live? So figuring that out and using that as a compass, right?
Okay.
Love that. Smart thing 11 is embrace relationship tensions as the fuel for personal growth.
I
So,
think this is the best thing you can do. I
yeah,
literally think this is the best thing I've even, I can tell you a million breakups that I've had that I learned more about myself,
yeah,
whether it's a romantic or a friendship or a business or any kind of breakup. Like I, I, I literally think this is the master key to life.
yeah, yeah. I absolutely 100% agree with you. And he also says it's not even in breakups, but in our actual relationships, that trouble in the relationship doesn't mean something's wrong with the relationship. It's just a time
Yeah.
to reflect, to see,
Yeah.
um, what's going on with me, right? How can I grow?
Right.
How can I be better? Right? So I
What can
just,
I do with this? How can I weave this into gold? Let's talk about it. That's really what we're talking about,
yeah,
is taking a piece of charcoal and smashing it down and putting pressure on that moment and putting pressure on that experiment and opening it into a diamond. What is this doing?
yeah,
Like you have to put the pressure on yourself in those moments to figure out, why did this come about? Look at that narcissist relationship that I had.
yeah,
I developed so many skills for my life and my relationships that have
yeah,
come. It's I should send her a thank you card for what it has done for me to expand my relationships.
yeah.
I mean, but you could easily become the victim of these for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And that's it. Like to learn, how can we learn, right? How can we learn from this relationship, right? And then he
Yeah.
talks about what are healthy dependencies, like healthy relationships. So this is, I love this quote. He said, a healthy relationship requires that we put more of ourselves into the relationship and not less.
Love.
That is my favorite, I
Love.
think my favorite quote from one of my favorite quotes from the book. A healthy relationship requires that we put more of ourselves into the relationship, not less.
Oh, so good.
So good, right?
And
Um,
that doesn't mean do everything in a relationship. A
no.
healthy one is where you can give and you are receiving and you're like, it's jiving, right?
Yeah. And he said, we keep our individuality, ourself, and we encourage our partner to do likewise. We
Yeah.
want them to be differentiated. We want them to be themselves. You know, I want you to be the best version of yourself in this, you know?
And if I don't think, if you have a friendship that doesn't even like, it does not just for relationship, like partners, it's for every relationship in your life.
Yeah.
Like if you
Absolutely.
don't like I have a couple of relationships in my life right now where the person's in such scarcity, they don't even care what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really is. Those are the relationships that are really hard. And when somebody's in a bad way for a temporary time, then you can rise to that. But if it's always like that, it really is not a healthy relationship.
Yeah. 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 I agree. Oh, good. Smart thing 12. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready, baby.
Recognizing that the problem is not the real problem, right?
And it's
So
just the problem is you, right?
problem is you. Yeah, and he talks the list of problems that people come in to see him with. I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I drink too much or I use drugs too much. My partner had an affair, my partner is abusive, my partner has no interest in sex. I want to get divorced. I don't like my job, I relapsed. I feel numb. I don't like how I worry about things. I'm indecisive. I'm lonely. I want to lose weight. I don't like my mother or father, all of it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so and he says as a therapist, he's looking, what's missing is really the holes in our personal development, right?
Okay.
Um, where we're not able to set boundary or like these are just the symptoms of what's going on, right?
Yeah. These
Um,
are
yeah,
these are the outcomes of us not walking in truth or walking, you know,
yeah,
standing up. We're hiding, we're shifting, we're not believing, or we're lying, or there's always something in those relationships that, I mean, if we're in a bad relationship where the partner is abusive, frankly, if you don't get out of it, it is your fault.
and that's the interesting thing, like that I think my abusive partner is the problem. The problem is I'm staying in a relationship where the partner is abusive. And we're
Right.
not victim blaming here at all, but we're just saying that, it's almost like I always tell my the women I coach that they're sitting in a beehive and the bees are stinging them
Yeah.
and they are blaming the bees. And I'm like, but
Yeah.
you're not leaving the hive.
Yeah.
And
I think where we become really kookadoo is where, you know, if you were raped, the
yeah,
problem is the rapist, and you do need to
yes,
heal from that.
yes,
We're
of
not
course.
talking about that.
No, we're not talking about those types of things. Right.
No, those like, or my house burnt down. The problem
Right.
was the fire. Now we
Yes.
have to start healing.
Yeah.
But like, this is what, like, I think what we're talking about is the long term issues of he is the problem or she is the problem. And when you really are saying, I am not taking responsibility for being in the driver's seat of my life, And I don't want to because I don't want to be the wrong one.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not the problem, it's I can't cope with the problem. I don't know, have the tools to cope with the problem because there's
Okay.
going to be problems.
Hmm.
There's that life require all hands on deck. That's life.
Yeah, it is.
And sometimes my hands are tied. I don't know, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, it's not
Okay.
this problem, it's that I can't cope with this problem. And I remember when I did my, when I was going through the steps and I did the fourth step, and in there you have to write out all your fears. So I wrote down all my fears, like, oh, my brother's gonna die. I'm gonna get sick. I'm never going to meet anybody. I'm going to die broken alone, like all these fears. And
Mm,
my sponsor said, "You're not afraid that these things will happen." I'm like, "I'm not." She's like, "You're afraid that if they happen, you're not going to be able to handle it." And that was
mm.
like a moment for me because that's it. These are not the problem. It's that I'm so afraid that I'm not going to have the tools to handle any of this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about here. The problem's not the problem. The problem is that I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to handle the problem, or that I can't, or I
Yeah.
don't have the tools to handle the problem. So,
Right.
yeah, interesting. Yeah,
So you just, I mean, you just, how do you
you
battle
learn.
that? Like,
You
yeah, you
learn.
just learn.
He has a whole list of suggestions. So, some of his suggestions are get distance from the issue, focus on the solution, listen to yourself, be personal, pay attention, like, to what your
Okay.
body's saying. Stop awfulizing.
Ooh, I
Like,
like that
stop
term.
awfulizing, right? Do something different. Ask somebody for help, right? So it's all these different things. Don't forget to laugh. Ask for help, right?
I
So these are all things that we can do, right?
I
But
do think that there's something in people who can laugh about really bad stuff.
yeah. Oh,
There
you're
is
the queen of
something
it. I
about
mean,
it.
you literally had, suicides, deaths of children, like, and you can, like, yeah, it's amazing. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is
I'm just
my,
yeehawing right through it.
yeah, you're just
I'm just, woo, baby.
no, but it is. And I think yeah,
Yeah, but like if you trip, the first things you should do is laugh, even if it hurts.
yeah, yeah. I've done that before. I've fallen down a
Yeah.
flight of stairs and then stood up and just laughed. And
And
then
just like, did anybody catch that on video? Because that was so
I'm okay. So
good.
yeah, so I mean, there's a lot to unpack in this book. But yeah, I will I think it's great. It's generally what I got out of it was like a little bit of distance from your little bit of pausing, a little bit of like not getting lost in the emotions and kind of like anchoring yourself with yourself, like being true to yourself.
Now, you've always said that if everybody would just do the 12 steps of sobriety,
Yeah.
the world would be the most, I mean, they don't have to even not drink, but if they
Yeah.
did the 12 steps of
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
AA,
Yeah.
like we would all be so much better versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that what I liked about when you were telling me about this book is that, with those 12 steps, this is a level up in emotional maturity, emotional intelligence. And if everyone did this, it would be even better.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think, yeah, I love what you said that this is the level up because I think what the steps do is you clean up your life, but then this is like the next level, the higher
Okay.
level, which people who aren't recovering, they're already a little bit ahead of addicts. So this is to take the next step, become emotionally, stop blaming everybody else for everything. Look at yourself for a second, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally is, it seems like a more emotionally intelligent version of let them
Yeah.
theory, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it's like just, it takes it like a little deeper than the let them,
Yeah.
because that was the let them theory is like a very simplistic version of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you for reading it. I did buy it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So I'm going to keep referring back to it because I feel like that's one of those things where you could just
Yeah.
pop in and be like, okay, I hate so and so, and then go to that section
Yeah.
and say, okay, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to write 5 things I hate most of, or, the 5 people I
Yeah.
hate the most,
Yeah.
everything I hate about them, and how that
And then say it out loud like I am, and then the thing you hate.
I am a cunt.
Yeah. How does that feel?
Feels
Feels good to
right.
me.
It feels great. I
Um,
think I nailed it.
Nailed it. Mic drop. He said this book is meant to be taken piecemeal. Like it's meant to be taken, like just like you said, kind of referring back to it. So yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Well, thank you. I loved it.
You. I loved it and I love you.
I love you. I'll see you next
See you next
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Thank you so much for joining us this week on We Need Help, the podcast.
Make sure to like, subscribe, like again our YouTube channel, our Instagram, follow us wherever you can. It really, really helps us out and ensures that you won't miss any future episodes. So, yep, thanks to you, we can keep going.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.